Everyone is talking about DeepSeek. In fact, apparently, at the secret briefing in Washington, D.C., all the questions for Sam Altman and OpenAI were basically about DeepSeek. So, what's the story? What was DeepSeek before the last 2 weeks? Here we go. May 2023, DeepSeek got spun off from a prominent hedge fund in China called Highflyer. It had integrated AI into its strategy, so it was sort of doing stuff with AI. Highflyer invested 10,000 NVIDIA A100 GPUs in 2021. This was before US export controls were tightened. So this positioned DeepSeek to get aggressive on AI. They began to rapidly train models, etc. Now, before we get into the rest of it, I want to talk for a second about training and training costs. Because DeepSeek says that their R1 model cost, I think, $5.58 million to train using 2,000 GPUs and 55 days of training time. This is supposed to be significantly cheaper than the other models. However, I saw a industry analysis from a very reputable source that I'll link down here. It actually, SemiAnalysis is their name. They focus exclusively on semiconductor analysis for Wall Street. And they challenge the accuracy of the figures on the basis of R&D labor costs, electricity and cooling costs, pre-training data acquisition and curation, which is extremely expensive, and then infra and storage, which is also expensive. They came through with an annual budget north of $500 million to produce R1, which is kind of close to what Dario Amodei suspected when he wrote his blog post. He's the founder of Anthropic. I don't care what the actual number is. Maybe it's $500 million. Maybe it's $1 billion. The point is that if you just slice a piece off of the training costs, Wall Street will believe you because they don't know what goes into a model. They don't. And neither do a lot of other people. So what about these export controls? A major factor in DeepSeek getting as far as it has been access to high-end chips. And US restrictions have been sort of tightening, and certain NVIDIA chips are restricted. However, the analysis from SemiAnalysis, I know this is very confusing, but and they're not the only ones saying this. I've seen this all over, is that this company, that DeepSeek, probably has 50,000 NVIDIA GPUs, specifically the Hopper class GPUs, including H800s, which is a China-specific version of the H100 with lower performance, and H20, which is another sort of restricted variant, plus a significant A100 stockpile, which we mentioned at the top, plus some cloud compute agreements with Chinese providers, which could allow them to skirt some restrictions. Fundamentally, they have figured out a way around the restrictions, is kind of the way I read that. And this brings me to the fact there is an FBI investigation into the so-called Singapore backdoor. The Singapore backdoor is the nickname for the interesting fact that a very large percentage of NVIDIA's sales go to Singapore when Singapore does not have a major model maker. And the FBI is investigating whether there is some kind of relabeling, reshipping going on to China from there. So we will see. And so fundamentally, this whole debate has been around whether or not, if AI models are commoditized, there's any advantage to be had in AI. People disagree on that. I'm kind of with Dario in the sense that if you can build a lead, even if it feels like a month's lead or a year lead in AI, and AI is improving this rapidly, that becomes insurmountable over time because it keeps improving. Basically, if you're running faster and keep accelerating, and you have a small lead to start with, it adds up to a big lead in the end. And by the way, this is actually exactly what is going on here, because as much as the markets had a lot to say about DeepSeek, fundamentally it came in and brought efficiencies. And those are real engineering efficiencies. Those are not fake. It brought engineering efficiencies to a model class that had already been out for a year. So yeah, roughly a year behind is not a bad way to put it. So at the end of the day, we see DeepSeek doing incredible engineering with lots and lots of GPUs that they did not talk about for reasons that should be pretty obvious. You don't talk about the fact that you have a corner on a chip you shouldn't have, and you don't want to give away sort of how you did it, which is a strong incentive to really focus on only the incremental cost of the actual training run rather than the data cost, the storage cost, the electricity, everything else that goes into it. So I really appreciated this because like looking through how this works and looking through like how big the cost is, like it was really helpful for me to dig in and understand what's going on here. I don't know where the FBI investigation is going to go. That remains to be seen. But to me, this strongly suggests that there will likely be some export control changes that are designed to make this kind of activity more difficult for DeepSeek and others in the future. Now, I'm not a prophet. I might be wrong. We will have to see, etc. But that's sort of my thought. Also, if you were to guess as to what DeepSeek will try and release next, later, soon, I would bet they're also going to get in a little bit to the agent and algorithmic trading game because they came from a hedge fund. That's just a little Easter egg, but I thought that would be an interesting one. I hope you enjoyed this bit of a deep dive into DeepSeek. Cheers.